Good evening, and welcome to the Real Opinions radio show. We've got a busy crew tonight.
Yeah, it's 5 is the most that's ever been on, isn't it?
Yeah, I think so. Should we introduce ourselves?
Yes, let's. Do you want me to go first?
Yeah,
okay.
You go first.
Okay, I am Harrison.
I am James.
Good.
I am Matt. Hi, I'm Chris.
Hi, I'm Jack.
Yeah, so Matt's standing in for Ben, who can't be here today because what's he doing again?
He's at a press screening of in
the Ron Howard thing.
The Ron Howard one.
Yeah, what's it called? In the Heart of the Sea. That's the one.
He's on the hustle.
Yeah. So maybe we'll have a review of that at some point soon.
But this is Matt's first time on the radio.
Yep.
We're popping his cherry. He's laughing now, so I'll just fill that silence with Matt laughs. So today we've got We've got reviews of Carol.
Yeah, Todd Haynes' Carol.
Got Krampus, which we saw yesterday, a few of us. The Good Dinosaur, which me and Matt saw.
Yep.
Jessica Jones, if we get time.
Yeah.
Anything else that I'm forgetting?
Talk about Master of None as well.
Jack can talk about that Master of None as well. So
just like, yeah.
Yeah. So we've got a busy slate.
Yeah. Many things to look forward to.
So
should we have some slightly Todd Haynes related music?
Well, for Carol.
For Carol.
Yeah.
No,
Yes.
For Krampus.
For Krampus.
So that was Cat Power with Stuck Inside of Mobile with the Memphis Blues again, which is a version of a Bob Dylan song, and it's off the soundtrack album, not actually featured in the film, but off the soundtrack album of Todd Haynes' I'm Not There. And very shortly, Jack and I will be talking about Todd Haynes' latest film, which is Carol, and it's actually the next film after I'm Not There, which actually came out in 2007. A sort of Bob Dylan biopic. Yeah, it did. I'm telling you.
You're the expert on him.
I'm the expert on Todd Haynes. And yes, it's been 8 years since his last film, so it's a long time in the making.
Would you say worth it? So shall we just give the basic laydown of what Carol is then?
Yeah.
So it's basically 1960s, and it's about Therese, played by Rooney Mara, a shop worker who, just a typical girl kind of growing up in New York, and then she bumps into Carol working in the local shop, and basically it's just, she's kind of an enigmatic character, and it's just about a building relationship following from that, and it's a lesbian love story, like based in an era where it wasn't accepted at all, and that's kind of the strife of the film essentially. And
yeah. Well, and in effect, it kind of inverts Far From Heaven, which is from 2002, which is about a husband in a relationship, also a married husband who's...
Is that Todd Haynes?
That's also Todd Haynes,
okay.
Yeah, sorry. In a homosexual relationship with a man. So it's basically a kind of...
So he has themes that he likes to go back to.
Yeah. It's a simple plot, and, well...
It's a film that is definitely growing on me the more I think about it, because I came out of it and I was thinking it was okay, but I wasn't as pleased with it as I wanted to be, because so many critics have been calling it amazing and brilliant, and there's so much about the production of it, how much work went into it, and I just kind of came out feeling a bit deflated because I wanted to like it more than I ended up doing. But now, coming out the cinema, I just keep thinking about moreover little details in the film, and it's making me kind of grow to like it a bit more. And I feel like maybe it's just because it's a film that requires a second viewing to like get more out of it. Not because it's like it's intrinsically complex. It's just that there's I feel like there's more little details to be pulled out of it to enhance your enjoyment a bit more.
Yeah, I mean, so for me, I thought that the best points with it were the technical elements. So it's beautifully shot. We were both enjoying.
It's one of the few films where, like, cinematography wise, I haven't praised it for being the shot composition of it. It's just the color of it is really interesting on how it's used, because it's all shot on this like Super 16 film, and it's all this very nice saturated nostalgic color, and they keep using recurring colors for different characters, and it was a very it kind of absorbed you a bit into the film, which I really enjoyed about that.
Yeah. And yeah, I mean, the acting was fantastic. I mean, we can't doubt that. I mean, that's one of
Yeah.
the things that a lot of critics have been saying about it is the strength of performances.
I can't think of another performance that might take an Oscar away from. I've already forgot.
Cate Blanchett, yeah.
I can't think of a performance doesn't come to the top of my head that could take away. I don't know if it'd be supporting or lead actress, but I feel like she's going to get some kind of awards for this.
Yeah, I mean, certainly a nomination. I mean, I know we're moving into that time of year where the Oscar-nominated kind of films do start to emerge.
It's definitely a character-driven film, and as in that there's lots of close-ups on actors just acting very, very well, and that's that's essentially what pushes the film forward. It's not about spectacle or anything like that. It's just the small little twitches in character throughout the film.
Yeah, well, you see, this is the thing. I mean, I have to say, I'm not a huge fan of melodrama, any kind of film, so maybe I'm a little bit biased in that sense. But I also think films like this often get quite an unbalanced kind of representation with the critics and stuff. 'Cause I think these are the kinds of films that film critics do like. In terms of the acting, yeah, absolutely fine. But I don't know. My problem with it is it's wonderfully simple, but that's also its downfall. Not a lot happens in it.
I get what you mean.
And I get that. Its beauty is how stripped down and straightforward it is. It does allow you to sort of.
It gives
the
all the
characters.
detail that it needs for that story, but at the same time, there's not a lot going on in the background. I mean, it's just what's happening in front of you.
Yeah, and I'm kind of left to think, oh, nice story, but so what, you know? And I was saying to Harrison, it's a mellow drama. I came out of it feeling, it was very nice, lovely, a lovely period piece with a sort of a gentle hint of Christmas to it. But so what, you know? Good, looks nice, but I don't know. Not when you think of some of the sort of other Oscar films, like from like last year, like Whiplash or something. I mean, that's a film really came out of it thinking like, wow, that was intense.
I don't think there's
There's
nothing to really draw you to it to be like, I love this film. As in, like with Whiplash, there was the kind of the tension and the building and the editing and everything like that. And with Birdman, it was the one shot and the amazing script and everything. But with this one, it doesn't feel as much of a wow film as other critically praised films around this time in the year have been. But I think it's a film that I feel like is going to grow on me.
Yeah, I mean, it's a solid film, and I think maybe slightly older audiences would maybe appreciate it more.
It's not really built for our audience as much. No,
definitely not. But I mean, some fantastic technical elements. I think probably it will get a cinematography nomination, possibly.
Oh yeah, nomination.
Possibly a director's nomination for Todd Haynes.
Yeah.
But definitely those lead performances are fantastic.
Yeah. What would you give it a rating out?
Well, this is a tricky one because I have to sort of think back to I'm Not There and think that before I was a complete Dylan fanboy, I watched that film and thought, yeah, it's okay, 7 out of 10. But now I appreciate it because it's much more layered and there's a lot more going on there to pick apart. Whereas with Carol, I don't think there's so much of that. And I mean, you know, it's good for that in a sense, but I struggle to see beyond a 6.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm sort of on the cusp of a 7, but I just, for sheer enjoyment, I've got to say 6.
Yeah. I'd say for sheer enjoyment, I'd probably say around a 7. But I feel like I don't know if I would rate it between a 7 or 8 because, like I said, I think if I watch it again, my rating is going to be confirmed if I watch it again. Yeah. I found it quite hard to review this one just because it's not like a film that you can entirely put down to this bit of script is bad, this bit's bad. Like, it's just all right for how of it.
Yeah.
With some brilliant parts, but yeah. One of the brilliant parts was the soundtrack that I thought in parts, so working as a perfect segue into the next bit.
A very, very good segue. Yes, so this is Billie Holiday with Easy Living.
Okay, so that was Billie Holiday with Easy Living, which is in Carol. apparently. I don't know. I haven't seen it. It's in Fallout.
In Fallout.
I know Fallout. Okay, so now me and Matt are going to be reviewing The Good Dinosaur. Yay!
Yeah.
The Good Dinosaur has been notoriously plagued by production problems. That was alliteration.
Yeah.
And they go quite a long way back. We're talking years, not like months. And I kind of want to avoid talking about that too much because I don't know the details and I can't really speculate on how it affected the film. I don't know for sure. So this background is there. It's had production problems, but now it's here. And all we can definitely say is the second Pixar film released this year, and pretty much definitely the weakest.
Yeah.
That's true. But that's not to say it's bad. So the plot, it's basically like a mashup of Finding Nemo and Ice Age, if you think about it. Because, for a start, it's about a human boy who travels with a prehistoric creature for them both to find their way home. That's Ice Age. It's more or less the same. And as for Finding Nemo, you got the very similar structure to Finding Nemo because it's this journey, and along the way they meet these secondary characters in the same way that, you know, they meet the turtles in Finding Nemo or the sharks in Finding Nemo. And it's a coming-of-age story about a dinosaur called Arlo, who is the titular good dinosaur. And it's a coming-of-age story about him learning to like make his mark on the world, and it's a journey for him to find his home. What did you think?
I thought it was, I was kind of, I want to say I was disappointed by it, but it was more that it did exactly what I thought it would do. It was okay.
Yeah, exactly.
Which is, I suppose it's not a bad thing. I thought what you were saying about the plot and about the Finding Nemo thing, I thought that kind of similarity to other films was something that kind of popped up quite a lot in it. There were lots of bits to it that were just kind of rewritten from other films. It felt like the best scene in the film pretty much is this kind of moment of like voiceless emotion. There's there's no talking, and it's really powerful, but it's basically just WALL-E. It's just that whole it's that idea that they're bringing.
Yeah, I mean they do. It's not like there's no scene in WALL-E that's the same, but it's very WALL-E-esque.
Yeah,
I can see what you mean. Yeah, the biggest problem with it is that if you think of Pixar in their the golden years, is that they were kind of champions of originality and doing these fresh, innovative things, and this just feels like if I didn't know it was Pixar, I would have thought it was from one of the Pixar imitators.
Yeah.
It looks beautiful, or half of it looks beautiful. The backgrounds are like rendered in this really photorealistic way. They look like they could be live action.
Yeah.
Would you agree with that?
Yeah, no.
Particularly, like even like the water is probably the best animated water I've ever seen.
Yeah.
But then they place in these photorealistic environment very cartoonish character models, which I was saying, and I know a lot of people have said this, so I don't want to like harp on about it too much, but I thought it was a little jarring. You weren't that bothered by it, were you?
It didn't add anything to the film, the kind of juxtaposition, but it didn't take anything away either for me.
I just kind of think they should have picked one. Like, even if it was to pick the cartoonish route and have the backgrounds cartoonish as well, just so it's consistent. Because I would frequently be, like, looking at these amazing backdrops in a shot that was just a landscape shot. And then a character would walk into it, and it would really kind of, like, take me out of it for a second. I think, coming back to what you talked about with the dialogueless moment, all of the best moments in the film, I think, were dialogueless. Be they emotional or the comedic moments. The best comedic moments were the physical comedy moments rather than the ones that relied on dialogue.
Yeah.
And I don't think it's necessarily the case that Pixar have to make films that don't have dialogue. But I just think the dialogue wasn't up to scratch here as much as the visuals were at times. And the secondary characters are all cool. I think that's like a thing Pixar do well. They've always got really good secondary characters. And some of them here are really good. There's like a Triceratops with parrots and birds on him. And he was funny. I liked him. And there are the T-Rexes, but they're just the sharks from Finding Nemo.
Not as good.
Yeah, exactly.
Not, like characterless sharks.
One of my problems was that I didn't like Arlo. I thought he was really annoying and whiny. He never did anything but whine. Yeah. And I found him very difficult to sympathize with after a point because all he ever did was make things worse and complain.
Yeah. well, to retouch for the third time on the voicelessness, I think Spot was the best character.
Yeah, I agree.
Maybe because he was voiceless, so they were forced to be more creative
Yeah,
in the way
I
that they
agree
made
with
him
you.
express himself. But
That's as we were saying, the film is about Arlo's the dinosaur and Spot's the little boy that he takes with him, and they kind of reverse the boy and his dog kind of formula, because in this case the dinosaur is the humanized one and Spot's the like a dog. He acts like a dog. This is all because a meteor missed Earth and dinosaurs have been allowed to evolve to the point where they run farms and things, which I thought was. It took me a long time to kind of understand why they were running farms, and then I remembered it's because the meteor missed and they've evolved to the point where they're like taking part in agriculture. I thought it was really weird, and I kept forgetting it all the way through the film. I was like, why are the dinosaurs like ranchers? Why are they herding cattle? Why are cows around, or whatever they were, like wildebeest?
bison or something.
Bison, yeah. And I remembered that it's because we're in this different world.
yeah.
To like history has changed.
I quite liked all of that stuff. I thought it was
Yeah, it was good. I just kept
Interesting.
forgetting.
Yeah,
Was
okay,
that, like
yeah.
it didn't make enough of like it made the point at the beginning, and then never really touched on it again, and I just forgot. It's also a little like because it's kind of cartoonish, and we said compared to some of Pixar's other films, almost babyish.
Yeah.
And then there's these moments of really bizarre darkness,
Yeah.
ever so occasionally.
Yeah, it's a strange kind of juxtaposition of, like, for the most part, it's quite a childish film. It's much more of a film for kids than most Pixar films. And then every now and then, you have like there's a scene where they eat these rotten peaches
That
on the
was
floor,
surreal.
and they get really drunk or really high.
Yeah.
And you have this like hallucination scene.
It's
where they, like,
intense.
they swap heads and stuff.
And like, doesn't one like open their mouth and then the dinosaurs start coming out of his mouth, and it's really like, what the?
It was a really funny scene.
Yeah.
But I can imagine that you would take a child to it and it would kind of break the child a little bit.
Yeah.
It was a bit.
And there's like heads being torn off
Yeah.
of living creatures and things.
Yeah, yeah,
But then
and
it
then-
goes back to being quite sickly cute.
Yeah. There's quite a bit of violence to it.
Yeah.
You get this cute little creature that they save from a log, and then eat him,
Yeah.
tear him apart. It's literally like a nature documentary. Where
And
they're,
it's- and it
all
is like a
fighting
kind
the
of-
real thing.
It's kind of it's like a person. It has like a human personality. It's
Yeah.
not just like an animal.
Yeah.
So it's quite disturbing. So should we go to ratings?
Sure.
Yeah. Do you want to go first?
Yeah, I think I did really like the visuals, and even though the story wasn't very original, it wasn't bad. I don't think there was anything particularly bad about the film. So I think I'll probably go for a 7.
Okay. Yeah, I agree with that in the sense that there's no element of it that I think that was really, really bad. It's just nothing about it was really, really good, apart from the odd moment. Yeah. And I also thought that the narrative was very kind of, it just kept starting and stopping. And it's very episodic because of the way that it's like just a journey. So I'd give it a 6, I think. Because, it's not Inside Out. And I think it's always going to be remembered as the film that was not Inside Out in the year that Inside Out came out.
Yeah.
Yeah. Right, cool. So I guess we'll move on to a song now. And there's
there a
a
song
moment
prepared?
of confusion as we...
That's right thing.
I did it.
Yeah, he did it.
I did.
Yeah, actually, listen. He gave it a 7. Should we go with one of the Krampus songs? And okay, yeah, we'll do that. So this is from a YouTube site that Jack introduced me to. It's called Vintage Jukebox. Is that what it's called?
Postmodern
Jukebox.
Jukebox.
Sorry, yes. Where they do these vintage covers of pop songs, and this is their version of the Titanic theme.
If I can find it.
If he can find it, let's keep stalling. Yep, we got it. So this is "My Heart Will Go On" in 50s style from the Postmodern Jukebox.
And last for a lifetime, and never let go till we're gone. Every night in my
Hi, and we're back.
Okay, hello everyone. So that was, as we said, that was the Postmodern Jukebox with "My Heart Will Go On," which is obviously the Titanic song. So it is film relevant. It's
That is
relevant.
vaguely film relevant.
Yes.
Yeah. Now we're going to be moving on from children's films to horror films. Well, horror in a sense.
Yeah. We're reviewing Krampus.
Yeah, yesterday we got into the E4 Slackers Club screening of it, which is actually
lights.
yeah. It was. I realised it was
Local
actually
plug.
before the US premiere. Like the US premiere was about a couple hours afterwards, so it was actually a
Nice.
quite
Cool.
early premiere. But what did you guys think of it?
Shall I do the intro? and
Oh,
then
yeah,
go into
yeah.
that? Shall I?
Oh yeah, no, I
for
suppose
it.
you could describe the film to the audience, but
Okay, so Krampus is the new film by Michael Dougherty, who previously brought us Trick or Treat in 2007, which is basically a Halloween-themed horror film, kind of like Pulp Fiction. It's basically,
alright.
yeah, it's like 4 different narratives that all kind of vaguely intertwine, set in the same community during Halloween. It's genuinely really good. It's one of my favourite horror films of the last 10 years. And so now, a few years later, I mean, it's quite a long time, quite a long gap between them. He's bringing us Krampus, which seems to do the same thing, but this time it's Christmas instead of Halloween, but with a straightforward linear narrative, which focuses on a young boy named Max, who is like, he's obsessed with Christmas. He's obsessed with Christmas to the point where when one of the classmates insinuates that Father Christmas is construct by Coca-Cola for advertising purposes, he drop kicks him in the middle of the nativity play.
You're getting really in depth with this. Like,
I'm just introducing the character. So he's obsessed with Christmas. he's Thank
Sorry.
you. So he's obsessed with Christmas to the point where he reacts quite aggressively towards people who don't like Christmas, is my point. Which is a problem when his dysfunctional family come over for the 3-day period leading up to Christmas.
Yeah.
Because they all, to vaguely different extents, hate each other. There's tensions brewing, there are unwanted relatives arriving. And when his cousins do something in particular, he kind of snaps and he basically says, like, I've had enough with Christmas and I've had enough with all of you. Which is what prompts the wrath of Krampus, which is a German folklore creation.
Do you want me to go into the folklore?
Do you want to talk about what Krampus is? Yeah.
Krampus is one of my favourite mythological creatures. Ranking it number 3 behind the Easter Bunny and the sexy swamp monster. And Krampus is brilliant because he's like the antithesis of Father Christmas.
Yes.
And, as you know, if you've been good, you get brought presents by Father Christmas. Whereas Krampus is just really dark and sadistic, and if you're bad, he drops a load of coal down your chimney. They've taken this and kind of built upon the Krampus lore here, so we don't get the most kind of faithful Krampus iteration, but we'll work onto that in a bit.
And so what happens is, as Krampus arrives, he cuts off most of the town with a blizzard. And basically we get kind of like a siege movie in which the family hold up in the house and Krampus and his variety of helpers and toys invade the house and kind of Gremlins-esque anarchy ensues.
Yeah, pretty much.
Okay, now we can ask what we think.
I was just sort of thought it'd be important to make a bit of a note about the tone of the movie. I think it's a very festive movie, but it's also cynical. So of Christmas, like we get that intro scene where you've got the slow motion of in the shopping mall and there's carnage
Everyone's
as
beating
such,
each
the
other
kind of
up.
Black Friday kind of thing we're used to, of massive anarchy in the shopping malls and stuff, very dysfunctional family like Harrison's already said and stuff like that. So for people that enjoy Christmas for what it is, but don't buy into all the happy holidays, the world is perfect kind of thing, it's quite a nice movie for it skims that line of being a Christmas movie that's not for the oh my god love and joy tell the world about it kind of people. So like it's quite good and it's really good and fun and it keeps the Christmas spirit alive, I think, throughout.
Yeah, I think because its overall message is sort of appreciate Christmas.
Yeah.
Because otherwise Krampus will get you. Is the sort of tone that it leads with. It's marketed as a kind of a slasher movie.
Yeah.
Quite a straightforward horror film, whereas the reality of it, as I said, is kind of Gremlins or Evil Dead 2-esque.
Yeah.
It's kind of more like a cartoon. It has more in common with like slapstick Looney Tunes cartoons almost than it does with straightforward horror films.
Yeah, I think going in, that was initially a little bit of an issue for me because I was being a bit more of a kind of, cynical person. I was hoping that some of these, people would go get some quite nasty
Yeah,
deaths
it's
and
not
stuff.
really gory,
But
is it?
it's not gory at all. There's very little. There's no blood actually. I
think there's.
There might be a couple of blood splatters, but there's
Yeah.
no actual kind of gore or anything like that, which is fine once you realise. But I think for the first act, I was a bit in hesitation of where it was going to go actually because of the festive kind of optimistic tone it had. I was like, come on, get the gory bit, and then it didn't do that. But I was fine with that afterwards because it was consistent with it.
It is more of a marketing issue than necessarily
exactly.
But yeah, it definitely feels Gremlins-esque, not only in the sense that it's set at Christmas and that it centers on a family and about trying to get to the heart of what Christmas should be, but also because when you have Krampus's helpers running around the house, they're these little miniature things, and they're kind of like doing that evil cackling.
Yeah.
They sound and act just like Gremlins do.
I mean, it kind of toes the line between horror and horror parody in parts. Like, it's not funny. It doesn't focus on the comedy enough to be solely a parody, but it's not scary enough to solely go towards horror. It's kind of in the midway point. Yeah.
I quite enjoyed the critters and the kind of monsters and Krampus's little crew. Quite inventive designs. And it was quite cool.
Yes,
I was really surprised.
Really good.
Some nice ones, like the elves were quite cool. I wasn't expecting that. And at the end, where he's got his sleigh and all his kind of demons and beasts and stuff, it's very good. And one of our favourites, I think. This one's not without going.
I mean, we'll just be vague about it.
Yeah, just the. There's a Jack in the Box with a predator mouth, which is pretty cool. There's some really good stuff.
The creature design is thorough. Like, I did not expect them to go into that much detail for what looks just like quite a cheesy kind of cheap movie on the outside. It's like they put in it looks like they put in quite a lot.
That's the thing. That's why I was mentioning Trick or Treat, because Trick or Treat does that too, and it feels like that must be a thing that he's good with.
Yeah,
he's got
it seems like a very sincere movie. Do you know what I mean? Like, it's not. It doesn't gimmicky. It doesn't feel like a cheap kind of action movie. Let's make a Christmas thing.
I think it really feels like he wanted to make it. Yeah, like, that's how I felt about Trick or Treat as well.
Proper like indie production that's been picked up.
I think he's very affectionate about the kind of horror movies that I'm affectionate about, which is why I probably like it as much as I do, because I think he likes these films like Gremlins and Evil Dead as much as I do, and so it feels like you said, not like a cash grab, but like a film he wanted to make.
Yeah, because I went in and I was, we partially went with the expectation of, it's going to be so bad, it's good kind of thing. But actually, no, it was just, it was very consistent. It wasn't a tacky kind of, tie-in.
We have praised it for quite a while, however,
yes.
And it is not perfect by any stretch of the imagination.
It is definitely just a bit too cheesy in parts, and it's very...
Yeah.
It's quite predictable structure for most of it. I mean, there are the occasional moments where it takes you by surprise, but that's just because it's being playful.
For a bit.
Yeah, because that was a strange
I like
segue.
Yeah.
But
again, without getting too positive, me and Harrison did actually like the little animated folklore tale. And
you did like that?
Well, it felt to me like those like old stop motion like Rudolph the Red-Nosed Reindeer things that they watch in America. It felt like a parody of them, and I quite liked it. I thought that's clever.
Okay, I can kind of get where you're coming from. That,
But then also, without getting too film studenty, how it's like German folklore, and then the backgrounds were quite expressionist. Caligari. Sorry to be that guy.
It's
but
referencing
it was
German
nice.
expressionism.
wow.
But
okay.
it got the style right, though. I thought.
Yeah.
It was a nice little stylistic touch. I thought.
I think to bring back what I said the same thing about The Good Dinosaur. I'm going to say it here as well. The verbal comedy frequently didn't land for me.
Yeah.
The physical comedy and the wacky stuff, that was great. But the dialogue was frequently quite
the verbal jokes were very much American comedy film.
Well, yeah.
Like, it was topical, but I felt like it was topical in the US about 10 years ago.
Yeah.
Humor.
What's the name? I'm sorry, I don't know the name of the actress, but the lady.
The one from Two and a Half Men.
The one from Two and a Half
the
Men.
who's playing the character from Two and a Half Men.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, she was the biggest
she's a bit of
problem
an
I had.
issue, yeah. Like, they put her in there and they're almost like, haha, like giving like shots to her when she says,
it's just
when
like
she says
alcohol
like,
humor.
This is funny.
I drink.
Yeah.
Yeah. That's
And
great jokes.
yeah, it was mainly that actually that was my problem. Was just that the dialogue and the script didn't necessarily live up to the imagination of the directing.
Without going into spoiler territory, the ending I think was a little lazy, but at the same time they boxed themselves into a corner with the tone that they took. By not making it a slasher, they couldn't kill everyone off.
The
I'm
ending
going to
felt
avoid saying anymore.
A little
but I thought
anticlimactic.
It was
felt
a
a bit
little
rushed.
anticlimactic and
Because
rushed. Yeah, like
the
Jack
film
was saying.
peaks in a sequence where they go up into the attic.
Yeah, that's
and
definitely
after
the peak
that,
of it,
it doesn't ever hit that level
It's
again.
just tying up some kind. It starts tying up ends whilst there's actually supposedly still some jeopardy going on. So it just kind of I agree.
it was fun. I would watch it again. I think
too.
I would watch
Yeah,
it again,
quite
which
happily.
is I did not expect going in.
I honestly think like again, whilst we said they're flaws, I can think of many more bad Christmas movies than that, and I wouldn't be.
A lot of worse Christmas horror films.
Yeah,
I can think of.
exactly. Like if someone asked me, "Oh, can you recommend a Christmas horror?" I would recommend Krampus.
Yeah, me too.
Like,
Yeah.
Yeah. So do you want to go in the ratings, or does anyone have anything else?
No, that's just about it. I mean,
Yeah.
again, it's going to be different ratings for me just because.
You're not as big a
Like,
fan of these things.
Yeah, but I mean, it's enjoyment. I would say it was around a 6 or a 7, kind of. But just on a pure technical level, it's like a 4.
You think?
Really?
Yeah.
Really?
Because like
really?
the practical
Yeah.
effects and everything, and the
I know
imagination's
the
really
practical
good.
effects are the best bit, but there's still like it's still overall it's cheap, easy filmmaking. But
But can you blame a
besides
film for being cheap?
Yeah, I'm with
no,
Chris.
but I
actually.
mean that it's
If
all
it's
just.
low. If it's
It's low budget.
I know
low
that it is
budget.
low budget, but there's still ways that they could put.
I thought it looked
Effort
very
into
good,
making it
very
look more
good for
stylistic, I
the
think.
film
No,
of its budget. Personally, I thought.
I felt like all the budget, like for a majority of the budget, felt like it went into the creatures and the cast, paying for the cast. And I agree that the creatures were very well.
What else was there for the budget? I mean, marketing. And,
All right.
Sorry, but
You're not celebrating the spirit of Christmas, guys. Krampus will get you.
sorry, Jack.
So,
That's fine.
what was your actual rating?
I'll go with a 5 then for the middle.
All right. Yeah. I'm gonna go. I want to go much higher than it deserves because I enjoyed it as much as I
Yeah.
did. I'm gonna give it a 7, which is basically the halfway point between what I actually like it and what I think it actually is. It's definitely flawed, but I can think of much better films, and more specifically, much better horror films that I would less like to watch again that I've seen recently. Like, I would watch this again over It Follows.
yeah,
So,
really?
yeah, because I
enough.
enjoyed it.
Yeah. No, that's fair enough. Yeah, I was going for a similar rating of 7 as well because I enjoyed it, like we said, and whilst technically I perhaps put it at a 6, I enjoyed it and I would recommend it. It exceeded expectations, but it's flawed, so I feel like 7's a fair rating for that, to be honest. Yeah.
Cool. That was Krampus. It ruined Christmas for us. So, what are we going into now?
It's beginning to look a lot like Christmas.
Which opens the film.
It's beginning to look a lot like Christmas.
Yeah, we're back. And though we gave you a review last week of Bridge of Spies, we've got James in the studio who has also seen it but wasn't with us last week. So he's going to give us our second opinion, see what we did there. Yes,
It was, yeah. It was one of my most anticipated films of the year, and I got kind of into a bit of a hole with it, thinking, actually, I'm not sure this is going to be that good. Like the trailer didn't really sell it to me. I didn't think the trailer was particularly good, and we were talking about this before, but the marketing of the film seems very
lackluster
for a Spielberg Hanks film. And yeah, so I turned up expecting a Spielberg Hanks film and thought, with quite low expectations. But actually, I think one of the best things in the film was Mark Rylance's performance. And I thought he was fantastic. Really good as a sort of Russian. Well, I won't go into too much detail, but he does his part well. I think it's obvious. We can say he's a spy, right? Yeah. And he plays it, in quite a good way, quite a good balance between some slightly more comedic elements and the serious implications.
So there is
character.
a bit of a light-hearted kind of Spielbergian tone in it.
Yeah,
right?
no,
Because
absolutely,
The trailers
absolutely.
make out it's quite dark and quite bleak, I thought.
No, and that's what I was almost surprised with. There was a lot more lighter stuff, a lot more of the kind of... Because I'd read some reviews, and of course the film's written by the Coen brothers, or co-written by the Coen brothers. And there are definitely parts in it that are kind of Coen-esque, like there's humour in situations where there might not have otherwise been humour. You might not expect it. And I think that's... I guess it might take away from the kind of historical legitimacy of it, but at the end of the day, it was an engaging 2.5 hour historical drama,
Which is quite an achievement. 2.5 hours.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
Because I was
It wasn't too heavy on the action, though, was it? Not that it was supposed to be. But...
No, it wasn't. But there were some action scenes and there were some sort of intense scenes. But I think in the absence of those, those comedic lighter elements made up for it. And I know sort of the Spielberg, the whole family thing is often quite big in Spielberg films, and maybe you'd say, oh, does it really need to be in this film? But I think it does give it a lighter side, and it was a very enjoyable film and a lot better than I expected it to be. Basically, I was very pleasantly surprised. And in terms of a rating, I was thinking, somewhere between 8 and 9. I was thinking, or maybe a 9, but realistically, I don't think I can go that high. So I think it's an 8, but it's a very good 8, and I think Mark Rylance definitely deserves an Oscar nod. It's not going to get Spielberg an Oscar for sure, but no, a really interesting film.
Yeah,
Very
definitely,
interesting film.
definitely. And
Well worth the watch.
It deserves the most anticipated.
No, definitely. It's undoubtedly one of my favourite films I've seen this year, so it definitely deserved to be
so it
part of
didn't
my
let
list.
down.
No,
On that note, apart from Jack, we've all seen our most anticipated films of the year now.
This is some kind of like wish fulfillment.
You've seen
Fan 4 stick. You know what I noticed? We've uploaded it as Fantastic Four. That is embarrassing. Oh, I was going to change it. Yeah.
Obviously, he's now seen Bridge of Spies. I've seen.
well, hang on. Spectre was my most anticipated.
You've seen that too.
Yes, I have seen that. Star Wars, though. Star Wars.
Well, that's what I was saying. That's why Jack's the only one who has it.
Is that your most anticipated?
Yeah.
Oh, of course.
I'm
it is,
getting
I
quite
guess,
excited
isn't
for it now,
The
really.
anti-hype you're riding on, yeah.
I'm surprised it wasn't yours, to be honest.
Well, I've fully committed to the anti-hype, as in I'm watching trailers because I just don't care. Like, no, but just to fill in our listeners, Jack has kind of taken a pledge of
Chastity.
taken a pledge to Star Wars that he's not going to watch any of the trailers beforehand, a pledge of faithfulness to Star Wars, and he's not going to spoil it for himself and go in. And I've personally been in this kind of situation recently that I found kind of Hollywood trailers to some extent do actually ruin certain films, and I've been picking up on that and leaving out certain films. But the new Star Wars, there's been so much hype. This past week, there's been a trailer a day almost, coming out. So
I'm
personally,
resisting those.
It's just so
I've seen
oversaturated now. Yeah, there's literally teasers, TV spots. They're working out new names for trailers, like to get trailer, preview, teaser, and like hybrids of the lot.
Do you remember when the Amazing Spider-Man 2 had a teaser for its teaser?
Yes, yeah,
That
I
was
do remember.
ridiculous.
I think that was pretty much like the kind of breaking point when everyone was like, okay, that's enough. That's enough. And we've kind of receded a bit from that kind of idiocy in recent years, where it'd be like, subscribe to iTunes and get a preview of the trailer and stuff like that. But I've been watching the Star Wars trailers. I am excited for Star Wars. It's won me over. I think the Comic-Con trailer was actually the one that really kind of got me on side because of, obviously, as a lot of people have said, the practical effects that they showed off in that. And it just kind of conveyed that they learnt from their mistakes, I thought, and that they were taking on board criticisms and they're trying to return to what they was so successful whilst forging kind of ahead with a new technologies and kind of like marrying them in a good way, I guess.
Yeah, I was actually watching a Worst of Jar Jar Binks video today, so I feel like that's relevant. But yeah, no, I'm probably more excited for Star Wars than Christmas. Is that really bad? That's really bad, isn't it?
No,
I'm like one of
it's
those
about
morbidly
alright.
obese American people who have mint dolls lined up.
Well, I think all this trailer talk is actually quite a good way to segue onto what me and Matt were just going to bring up for the end of the show. Was there's been another teaser released for Batman vs Superman, which is a short scene, actually, more or less, interspersed with a couple of credits for Zack Snyder and some of the production team and stuff. Because of course you need to know who the director is. And Matt, what did you think of it?
I actually quite liked it at first, with the whole Batman vs Superman thing. I was really not interested in the idea that they were making this film. I really didn't like Man of Steel, and then as they've done more and more of the trailers, and I've kind of begrudgingly I'll watch that because it might just it really did kind of. I'm quite excited for this film, although I do feel like I'm excited for a film that's going to come out in March when this film's coming out 2017?
Ooh, I don't know.
It's coming out in a while. This is a very kind of preempted advertising campaign.
Yeah, definitely. Well, I'm one of these people that's actually quite on side, controversially, with the new Batman versus Superman. I was one of the few that actually did enjoy Man of Steel to some extent, and I'm also one of the people that very much believes in oh my god, I can't believe I've forgotten his name. Who's Batman this time?
Ben Affleck.
Ben Affleck, yeah, of course. Because there are a lot of naysayers like, oh no, Christian Bale's, defensive Batman. Controversial again. Christian Bale was good, but like he wasn't overly good. He was just Batman. He was, he wasn't like, he didn't bring what Heath Ledger brought to the Joker. He didn't bring a defining Batman in the way that maybe Kevin Conroy's, voice acting does to the role that, some people consider. And this was a really good trailer, I thought, because it silenced a few of the naysayers that like, oh no, Ben Affleck's a, bad Batman. And it's actually quite a controversial sequence for like people, because Batman gets unmasked, and it's not, this would, I think, constitute a spoiler thing for Superman to unmask Batman as Bruce Wayne. But they've put that out there in the teaser, and it's quite a statement kind of scene. So I think it's interesting. They're getting the kind of mystique around it for how they're going to build up to that moment. And it's quite a charged moment, isn't it?
Yeah, no, yeah.
We're all nodding in agreement in the studio. I appreciate that doesn't translate to radio, but we are all nodding. That pretty much brings us to the end of the show, I think. Unless anyone has any concluding thoughts. No.
Christmas, Star Wars, we're excited.
Yeah, we are excited.
I'm sad that we're not getting a Fantastic Four 2.
Maybe we'll get a spin-off. Doom Origins. Oh no, wait, that
was that film.
Was
Yeah.
Origins. Balls.
And on that bombshell, here's the Who with their Batman theme.